How's it going, everybody? It's Cameron here. Today we're going to be talking about how to get some high point games, ultimately get you in Champions League as soon as possible. The gameplay you're going to witness while I'm going over all these tips is just a 7-kill little dub, but I thought it'd be a good game to showcase for this topic. We're going to break this down into 5 tips, but the first tip is going to be landing, because that's the very first thing you need to focus on for any game. Especially in arena. Now, whether you're a beginner or an advanced player who is very gifted at the game, same principles are going to apply. For high point games, typically you want to go to more uncontested, farther away locations, but locations that are going to have a lot of loot. Some places that I recommend that are not congested hardly ever but have tons of loot and tons of mats are places like Misty Meadows, Lazy Lake, Coral Castle, Craggy Cliffs, Steamy Stacks. Those are just a few of them that I think are really good, that can guarantee you like lots of loot. And I have personally I want to say like an 80-90% chance of surviving those locations if I land there, which is perfect for arena when all that really matters is placement. You gotta survive the beginning game to get to Endgame and ultimately get those high placement games. So land those farther away places because it pays off ultimately. The most important thing is points. You want to make sure you're getting as many points as possible, and the way to do that is by placement. So even for advanced players, it's usually best to go to less populated places. You don't want to land like Doom's Domain. The next tip we're going to be talking about is Loadout. Now, a lot of people already know what's the best loadout, but typically you're going to want like a burst, whether that's epic or legendary, or even a scar if you can get your hands on one. I usually go with an AR for my first slot, and then a shotgun and sub for my second and third slot. So you're guaranteeing yourself medium to long range with that AR, and then also being able to kill people quickly with the shotgun and a sub. Right now the meta is definitely pumps. If you can get your hands on a pump, that's ideal. A charge is really good as well, especially if you're really good at playing them and can time it perfectly with those charge shots. And then any sub. Right now the subs are pretty closely matched with the suppressed and the tactical submachine guns. The suppressed have a little bit more ammo, which is a nice benefit. The tac subs shoot a little faster, so have a little bit quicker DPS, which is the other benefit. So they're both pretty evenly matched from what I've seen online, so just really get any sub you want, but obviously if you can get like a purple or legendary spaz, that's ideal. Next tip we're going to go over is controlling fights. So what I mean by controlling fights is making sure that you are the aggressor and that you are the one who is putting yourself in a position where you can win, whether that is getting good height on your enemy by building quickly. Always make sure you cover yourself as much as possible. I see a lot of players that just don't build roofs, especially when roofs are very necessary. If you're ramp rushing somebody, something that I see a lot of pros do, and even like some streamers like Cypher PK, they will ramp rush, and right when they're about to run in front of the enemy, they put down a roof with a platform, and therefore not allowing the person to build a ramp. They run right over your roof, and you can get a free easy shot on them. Make sure you're either getting height when you can, or taking people's walls if you're good at doing that. I definitely recommend trying to be more aggressive in arena. It puts the other opponent on the back foot, and it kind of makes them second guess themselves, like, this player is good, he's obviously pushing me, taking my wall. So it just kind of puts them on the defensive. Now, it doesn't mean you should always spray into somebody's box and try to one pump them, because you can easily get countered and get one pumped back. So make sure you're doing little edit plays on the opponents when you can, and just try to be a little bit unpredictable too. Don't just run right into somebody's box without first building or doing a mongrel classic, putting your ramp or roof inside their build to take, to do piece control and try to take their builds. But make sure you're trying to control every fight you encounter and just really believe in yourself, because that's one of the biggest tips. Is your mindset. Like in this game, very little of it now is mechanically centered, because every player is so good that you just have to have the mindset that you're going to win each fight, and that actually will help you out a lot. and make you actually win more matches a lot easier. It'll help you win more fights a lot easier if you just have the mindset you can win it, you can do it. So just remember, you're good enough to win all these fights. If you believe in yourself, you can do it. Next tip we're going to talk about is preparing for endgame. So obviously, you know, when you're in mid game and you're noticing that final zone's coming in, there's usually like maybe 20-30 people left. At that point, mid game, you need to make sure that you're as close to maxed on every mat that you can. 500 wood, 500 brick, 500 metal. Those extra mats that you don't have could mean that you lose that last fight that ultimately could have gotten you a win. So make sure you're as matted up as possible coming into those final closing circles where you know all players are going to be congested all together. Take a good look at the end circle. Try to figure out where you are in proportion to where some of your enemies are. Try to avoid being ambushed as well. So maybe you are boxed up. Maybe you have prime circle location and you're boxed up. You know, editing a roof and roof peeking is a very good step. Make sure you don't see anybody closing in on you. Try not to waste too much mats, and just ultimately try to keep as much stuff as you can. Try to get as many heals and shields as you can, and it's all just going to come down to your mechanics on that end circle, because you're going to have to be tunneling. Now obviously if you're in like open league or even the first few stages of contender league, you're not going to really see much people boxing up, and there's not going to be really that many people trying to push for that, you know, top 5 or victory royale, because people are just, they don't really care as much in the early stages of arena. So you can kind of get away with a lot and with very few mats sometimes. And if you see an opening where you can third party somebody, you know, always try to take shots and, you know, just believe that you're going to win every fight you go into. And those things go a long way. I mean, really. For the last and final tip I have is end circle. So you're in the final circle now. There's maybe 10 people left, and you're just trying to get those extra points and maybe squeeze out a victory royale if you can kill every player. So my tips for this is just try to be aware of where every player is. I know that sounds hard, but you can get a good idea based on builds, like where people are spread out around you. Most of them will usually be boxed up. Be very cognitive of where players are, and then at that point you're just going to just trust your instincts. You know, tunnel when you can, tunnel to end circle to where the zone's going to be pushing. Hopefully you have floppers or some type of quick easy shield that you can use, whether that's slurp fish or shield fish, floppers. Any of those things are really good to have. And basically just try to tunnel out and then take shots when you can, especially if you know a player is weak, whether they just ran out of circle and you can kill them coming in. But just try to push to those end zones and box up when you can, and usually the storm will finish off like half the people in those end circles. So as long as you're on top of your game, always move right when the zone finishes, right when it's done moving. Before the next storm even starts moving, make sure you're already going to the next circle location. So getting there earlier is best, so you're gonna avoid congested parts of the map and give yourself a better chance. Alright guys, well that's basically it. I wish you guys all the best of luck this season, and I hope this helps you guys get out of Contender League and move on to Champions League. And who knows, maybe you guys will pull off some insane 300-400 point games with these tips. As always, it's your guy Cameron here. You guys have an awesome day. Peace out.